So thank you for joining us this morning on what is the first of the series of revision-based webinars that we're going to be running throughout the course of the year. So there's over 1.1 million businesses worldwide that are going to be affected by the ISO 9001 revision, and approximately 300,000 currently certified to ISO 14001. And we're very pleased to welcome representatives from about 200 of those organisations on this webinar today. So our customers are telling us that these revisions present a great opportunity to spring clean your management systems and to make them even more relevant to your business. We're going to spend about 30 minutes updating you on the progress of the ISOs that are currently under revision and the latest timelines. We're going to tell you how you can find out about how the changes impact your business and talk to you about getting prepared and all the information available to help you implement the changes. We'll also let you know what BSI will be doing to make sure this process is as smooth as possible. And before we go any further, I'd just like to find out a little bit more about you all. So I have a couple of quick questions which you'll see come up on your screen in just a moment. Excellent. So we have 91% of you certified to 9001, 49% certified to 14001, and 24% certified to 18001. And it's great to see that we have 77% of you today that's certified with BSI. So moving on. So these revisions are the highlights of the standard calendar this year, with 2 core management system standards moving to the new high-level structure. This is also known as Annex SL, and it was introduced back in 2012. So whilst there's a number of other significant changes to the standards, the new structure is fundamental to the evolution of ISO standards, and it's going to bring with it a number of different benefits. And that's things such as ease of integration for your management systems, but also a clear alignment to the strategic objectives of the business. So some of you might already have implemented systems in this structure, such as ISO 27001 for information security, or 22301 for business continuity, or ISO 39001, which is road traffic safety. And if you have, you'll benefit from having done a lot of the work already. And hopefully you already have noticed the benefits of the new structure. So those of you who aren't familiar with this high-level structure, please look out for an introductory webinar taking place next month, which you're able to register for on the BSI website. So let's have a look at the ISO revision process and where we are right now. So I'm sure a number of you have read the Draft International Standards, or DIS, which were released in mid-2014 for both 9001 and 14001. And when the DIS for ISO 9001 was released for public comment, thousands of comments were received, and each one of those has been considered by the committee through a series of meetings held over the past 4 months. So similarly, for ISO 14001, the committee met in Japan in February to review in the region of 1,500 comments. There were some specific discussions around the areas such as risk and opportunities and compliance obligations. And due to the number of technicalities under discussion, the process will now be finished during the week of the 20th of April in London. We can't comment on how the final draft international standard, or FDIS for either standard, may differ from the draft, but we do know that the new high-level structure will not change. So those interested in ISO 45001, which is the new standard for health and safety, due to the large number of comments from the first committee draft, the committee have decided to publish a second committee draft, and that's actually expected this week. So whilst all this has been happening, at BSI we've been making our own preparations for the approaching revisions. So training for our ISO 9001 and 14001 assessors started in December, and that's going to continue throughout the year with additional training on both standards planned for June and July. And this programme has been developed with the same subject matter experts as our commercial training courses and will ensure that all of our assessors are fully competent to assess to the requirements of the revised standards. We've also been recruiting for additional resource, so looking for new client managers to support our customers through the transition period, and we're very happy to say that we're well placed now to support you through your ISO 9001 and 14001 transitions. So let's take a look at the current ISO timescales. So first thing I must say is that they may change, as they have done many times since the beginning of the process. Looking at the dates here, the FDIS for ISO 14001 is expected late June, early July, and the FDIS for 9001 will follow shortly after. Both revisions are currently still on track to be published in September. And something to note here, there will be some benefits for those businesses with both standards to go through the transitions for 9001 and 14001 at the same time. And we'll be producing a white paper on this subject in the next few weeks, so please keep an eye on the BSI website. A number of our customers are also waiting for updates on some of the industry-specific quality standards, and we can now confirm that AS 9100 for aerospace and TS 16949 for the automotive industry will be brought in line with ISO 9001 2015, and they're both due to be published next year. So ISO 13485, which is quality management for the pharmaceutical industry, is due to publish in December this year. And we don't have a date for the FDIS at the moment, and it is possible that it will go straight from the draft to publication, but we'll keep you updated as soon as we know more. We'll soon be able to update you on the progress of ISO 45001. I think it'll be a while until the dates are confirmed for public drafts, but ISO is still hoping to publish the revised standard towards the end of 2016. And finally, although it's not showing on here, for those of you that could be working through ISO 27001 2013, this is the most recent ISO standard to be revised to the new structure. Please note that you must have completed your transition by the 1st of October this year. And if you've got any concerns around that, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So that's the dates from ISO. There's just a few other dates that you might want to keep in mind. To begin with, it's been confirmed that ISO 9001 certified organisations have 3 years transition from the date of publication of the new standard. And this means that you will have until September 2018 to be in compliant with the new requirements. So we believe that the same time period will be confirmed for 14001. So if you remember earlier, I mentioned the great opportunity around these revisions and how our customers are looking to spring clean their management systems. And this really is a good opportunity to evaluate your existing systems and to make them work harder for the business. So moving back to the beginning of the process, we actually have a number of customers who are keen to transition to the new standards as quickly as possible. So you will see here that there's an opportunity for unaccredited certification against the FDIS, which will be available shortly after the final drafts have been released. And when the standard is published, a review will take place to identify any changes, and you'll be notified if there's any additional evidence required to bridge the gap, and after verification, accredited certificates will be issued straight away. And if this is something you're interested in, being an early adopter of the revised standards, please speak to us as soon as possible so that we can begin planning. Something else to bear in mind, we have a number of customers currently going through initial assessment or looking for training for the existing versions of ISO 9001 or 14001. And we're asked all the time if it's worth delaying until these new standards are published. So there's absolutely no reason to delay if that impacts your business. If you're ready to progress, certificates to the existing versions of both standards will continue to be issued after publication of the revised standard. And the great news, of course, is you'll be able to take the new requirements into consideration while building your system, and you'll still have until the end of the transition period to meet the new requirements. So just a moment ago, I mentioned the 3-year transition period. All certificates to the current versions of the standards will expire 3 years after publication of the revised versions. So this includes all certificates gained or transferred to BSI after publication of the revised standards. And please note, if your transition is completed during the surveillance cycle, that's your 3-year cycle, the expiry date on your new certificate will be based on the expiry of your original certificate. But if your transition is completed at recertification, a new 3-year cycle will apply in the same way as it would have done previously. So during this period, additional locations or extensions to scope are still acceptable as they're part of maintaining your certification. And if you're a certification customer with BSI, you'll be pleased to hear that we're tracking your transition process throughout your surveillance programme. So we'll be able to highlight any areas of concern and ensure that you're pretty much on track to make that transition in good time. So our priority is to ensure that all of our customers transition successfully, and please don't hesitate to talk to us if you have any questions. So in preparation for September, there are 3 stages you need to consider. and these make up your pathway to a smooth transition. So the first stage is fact-finding, and getting to know the new structure is a key element. So if you've already read the draft standards, or if you attended one of our revision events last year, you'll already have a good understanding, hopefully, of this fundamental change. So if not, there's lots and lots of information available which can help you. I'll talk about a few specifics in a moment. The BSI website is a great source of information, together with the ISO website and also the IRCA website. So there's a lot of valuable information that will help you with your transition process. If you haven't already, now is a really good time to start talking about the revisions in your business. So identify those who will be involved, including the senior management, but also those involved in implementing the changes and auditing to the new requirements. Start thinking about the individual training requirements. Find out what courses are on offer and book places. So if you remember earlier, I mentioned how many businesses this is going to affect, and as you can imagine, the courses available now are already filling up. So when it comes to implementing the changes, there will be a number of transition options available from BSI, and we'll be sending you details of those over the next couple of months. And when you're creating your transition plan, you need to think about identifying the gaps. And one of the tools available from BSI is a self-assessment checklist. But you may want to think about booking a gap analysis or a gap assessment, just to get a clear view of where your business is and what you need to do next. Software is another option that might help you manage your transitions, particularly if you have multiple management systems. This would not only help to project manage your transition through key tasks and activities, but it will also assist you in managing any non-conformities. So please talk to us if you'd like to find out more about this. So these are major revisions, and for many of our customers this will be the first experience of completing a transition process. However, there's no need to worry. There's plenty of time providing you start preparing now. So it's worth noting that although these are major revisions, it doesn't actually mean a complete reinvention of your management system. So much of your existing system will actually be relevant to the new standard. Most of our customers would benefit from following a preparation plan, as shown here. And there's a number of key changes to understand and new people to involve in the process. So we actually suggest taking a phased approach to meeting those needs. And there is a lot of information available from BSI to support this. So at BSI, we have a full communication plan to enhance your fact-finding and preparation for your successful transition. And earlier I mentioned the Annex SL webinar in April, and this is just one of a number of webinars we're holding, which will take a more in-depth look at some of the key areas within the new requirements. So we're also going to be producing a lot of written information and white papers, and many of those are already available and downloadable from our website. We're in the process of planning revision workshops throughout the year, and places will be limited and available on a first-come, first-served basis. As soon as the programme is available, we'll make this available to you on the website, but it will also be sent out in the revision update newsletter. So we've also been developing some really good tools for you to use during your preparation process, some of which are mentioned here. So for example, following our roadshow last year, we produced frequently asked questions documents for both ISO 9001 and 14001 from the questions we collected across 18 events. So this is really good information because this is stuff that our customers were asking us, things that they were concerned about now, and that's a really good source of information if you're just beginning this process yourself. We've also produced a best practice transition journey to help you make the most of all the information and resources available. So that's a document that's downloadable from our website, and it tells you all the information across the course of the year that you'll have access to. So something else to consider, if you want to understand Annex SL, which is this new high-level structure in detail, you could always consider purchasing a copy of the book Understanding the New Requirements from the BSI shop, so something else to take a look at. Please use all of these resources to help involve the relevant people in your business. So share the white papers and get colleagues registered for the webinars, particularly your senior management who, with the greater emphasis on leadership in the new revisions, may have a greater role to play in the revised standards than they have done before. So since our roadshow last year, we've had a number of customers contact us for guidance on how to educate those in their business about the revisions. And another tool available for you right now is an internal comms pack. So we've produced this pack to give support to our customers and to act as a starting point for discussions. It includes a slide set for introducing the topic to your colleagues, and some suggested internal email copy to build awareness across your whole business. So as I've already mentioned, for some organisations, senior management will need to take a much more proactive role than they have done before. And to help you with this, we've produced a short high-level briefing document which outlines the reason for the revisions and the part they need to play. And these are generic documents, and they've been created just as a foundation for supporting your internal communications. So please tailor these to meet your own requirements, and let us know if you come up with a really good way to involve your colleagues so that we can share that across our customer group. So we're also going to be offering a comprehensive range of training courses to support you throughout the transition. And most organisations would benefit from a training programme similar to that shown here, which is available for both ISO 9001 and 14001. So there's a 2-hour course designed to help senior management understand the new leadership responsibilities. We then have 1-day courses to suit those involved in managing the system or implementing the changes, and of course auditing to the new requirements of the standard. So finally, we've developed a range of deep dive workshops for those wanting to gain a more in-depth understanding of specific requirements. And this programme's been developed with input from our customers and provides a clear transition pathway covering all aspects of the transition and all key people. And I should say at this point that this same training programme will be available for the new health and safety standard when that's published. So the senior management briefing is part of our standard training programme that's been adapted for the revised standards, and the remaining courses are shown here as part of a transition training package, and they can be bought individually or together. You'll notice that for the implementing or auditing courses, you must first attend the Understanding the Requirements course. That's a prerequisite, okay? And that is very much to ensure that you have the foundations you need to get the benefit from each course. So again, these courses are filling up quickly. There are discounts available for booking before the end of April, and those details will be sent to you after the webinar if that's something you're interested in. And all of these courses are available for booking now, and they'll be held at multiple locations across the country, again based on the feedback that we received from customers that attended the revision events last year. So our standard training courses that apply to the existing versions of ISO 9001 and 14001 are ongoing. So it's really important to ensure that those who are managing your existing systems have the knowledge and competencies required to maintain those systems. And please remember, whilst you can start making changes to your system immediately, you must remain compliant with the existing versions of the standards until you're fully compliant with the new versions. So this full range of courses are also on offer against the requirements of the revised standards, giving you all the knowledge to begin your transition process sooner rather than later. And to satisfy demand, some courses will be delivered before the final drafts are available. But a free webinar will then be offered to bridge any gaps between the drafts or final drafts and the revised versions of the standards once published. And please note here, the IRCA accreditation will not apply to any courses that take place before the revised standards are published. So you've put time into getting to know the changes and you're ready to start implementing. And a short while ago, I mentioned tools that have been produced at BSI to support you in making the changes. And this is a really good point to download the implementation toolkit from the BSI website. And this exists for both ISO 9001 and 14001 at the moment. It contains 3 documents. So the first is a self-assessment checklist, and this goes through each of the clauses for the new standard, as in Annex SL, and it requires you to identify elements that are part of your existing systems. And this is a great way to kickstart the process of understanding where to prioritise when you begin implementing changes. You may decide that a formal gap assessment will benefit your business, as this will give you a clear view of where you are in terms of the new requirements, so please contact us as soon as possible if this is something you're interested in. So the next is a transition guide, which has been designed to help you meet the requirements of the new standards. It talks through each of the clauses and provides a high-level view of the main changes between the 2015 DIS and the current version of the standard. So for those who want more detail, the final piece is a mapping document which gives greater insight into the changes in requirements based on the drafts. So something to be aware of though, the checklist I've just mentioned is a high-level tool and it doesn't actually form part of the formal assessment process, so that's not something you can use during assessment. However, I mentioned earlier that there would be a number of transition options available to you, and one of those will involve a pre-assessment checklist which will form part of your formal assessment process, and we'll be sending you details of that nearer the time. So what's next? So whilst it may be some time before the revised standards are published, and we know that 3 years seems like a long time to make the changes, we do know from experience that businesses who don't begin the process until the second or third year into the transition period typically struggle to have a smooth transition. And from our perspective as a certification body, we're asking our customers to engage with us sooner rather than later so that we can both help you plan but also manage the resource that we need to ensure all of our customers have a successful transition. And this is particularly critical with both ISO 9001 and 14001 due to be published so close together. And I mentioned the options for transition earlier on, and as soon as we have final details, we'll be sending those out to you. But please make sure that you're signed up to receive our revision newsletters and encourage your colleagues that are relevant to the process to sign up also. This is an opt-in list and you'll only receive the information relevant to the revisions. But it will include events information and training offers, and as the timelines from ISO change, that information will be in there as well. So as per the timelines shown earlier, there will be the opportunity to certify to the FDIS for both revised standards, and this is the perfect opportunity for organisations who want to be amongst the first certified to the new requirements. If you are interested, please tell us as soon as possible because we want to start planning. And finally, please keep in touch with us. So your client managers will be happy to talk to you, but we also have a dedicated customer service team in place to take your questions.